Hello and welcome to the first of my videos on the topics of dog behaviour and particularly reactive dogs. My name is Jay. I am the human part of the team behind Blue Male Minion, ably assisted by my very own reactive border collie Finn. Thank you for joining us. Let's start out by taking a look at how the stress response works. Anything that can cause the dog to experience fear or put the stress response into action is called a trigger. It doesn't matter what we think of the trigger. If it's something that seems totally ridiculous to us, to that dog in that moment, it is something dangerous and therefore it's important to them. So when they've become aware of the trigger, the amygdala, which is a little almond-shaped area in the brain, which is part of the most ancient and primitive area of the brain, the limbic system, sends a signal to the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus then triggers the pituitary gland, which is known as the body's master gland because it controls the output of so many other glands. That sends a hormone to the adrenal glands, which live on top of the kidneys. Now, the adrenal glands, for the purposes of the stress response, there are two sections. The adrenal medulla, which produces adrenaline, and the adrenal cortex, which produces cortisol, which are two of the main hormones involved in the stress response, and they are designed to make all kinds of changes within the body to prepare for a fight or flight situation. Adrenaline leaves the body quite quickly once the stressful situation has been resolved, but cortisol can take much longer. What this can mean is that if the dog doesn't get a chance to fully recover, they can still have heightened cortisol levels, which means they'll be quicker to react and potentially more extremely so than they would if they were more relaxed. In the short term, fear is a natural and healthy survival mechanism. Long term, stress becomes cumulative and can lead to a dog feeling ill, which then adds more stress and makes the situation even worse. One of the toughest aspects of coping with living with a reactive dog is the way they can seem so unpredictable. One day they can walk along the street sniffing and exploring their world without a single care, seemingly. On another day, it might feel more like at the other end of your lead is a whirling dervish of fangs, fur, and fury. Same dog, same human, same route. So what's the difference? To illustrate this, we're going to imagine a scenario. You've planned to take a quick trip across town in your car to the supermarket to pick up some essentials. It's a very quick visit. Just as you're approaching the checkout with your items, another shopper cuts you up, pushes in front, smiling happily at you while they do so. It's one of those things that is a bit annoying, but hasn't done any real harm, so you decide to leave it and avoid the aggravation. But what if the lead up to the shopping trip went a bit differently? If we go back to the start of the scenario again, you walk out of the front door, your car's got a flat tyre. Bad start. You set off on your trip having changed your tyre, someone cuts you up at the junction. They're an idiot. It's a bit alarming, but you're still okay. Every single traffic light on your trip to the supermarket is red, and this very quick shopping trip is now taking forever. When you get to the car park, it's full. The only space left is the one the opposite side of the car park next to the person who can't park in the lines. So you have to squeeze in, squeeze yourself out of your car door and just hope you can get back in your car when you get back. You get into the shop and then it becomes clear you've got that trolley, the one that just won't go where you steer it to. And then, just as you're getting to the point of being able to leave, just going to join the queue, and this person pushes their way in front of you with this massive smug grin. And that's just it. You explode. Anybody looking on might well say that that came out of nowhere. It didn't. All of those things that happened before that explosion all contributed. Dogs are no different. It happens in exactly the same way with them. That is trigger stacking. So here we see there are a few what could be typical triggers for dogs. You have a dog playing in the distance, a male stranger unknown to the dog. You have a person on a skateboard which makes noise and could be going quite quickly. And then you have a dog barking from behind a fence. Each one of these things on their own is not enough to take the dog to what is called threshold. Now, threshold is the point at which the dog can't take any more, and that's when we start to see the overt reactions, the distance creating behaviours, the lunging, the snarling, the barking, all of those really stereotypical reactive dog signs. Now, if you look on the right hand side of the graph, you can see that for our theoretical dog here, he can even see 3 of the triggers before he's pushed over the edge. But that dog barking behind the fence on top of all the other 3 is just too much for him to take. And that is because the cortisol levels haven't been able to drop. With each of the encounters up until that point, the adrenaline and the cortisol have been added into the bloodstream. While the adrenaline can go quite quickly, the cortisol, some studies say, can take up to 72 hours. So in the space of one walk, if you see lots of triggers, it's easy to see how our dogs can go over threshold and react. So this is my own dog Finn, who is very much demonstrating in this picture that he is not trigger stacked. How do we go about combating this trigger stacking? There are a number of aspects to this. Body language is absolutely vital when it comes to dealing with reactive dogs, is knowing and understanding the signals that show when a dog is becoming stressed and tense. This will vary from dog to dog and breed to breed. There are some basics which are similar to most dogs. It's well worth searching out. There are various short courses that you can find that will give you a grounding in canine body language and canine communication. And taking the time to observe your own dog and seeing when he's relaxed, what do the ears do, what does the tail do, the face, and learning all of the different signals that mean when they are starting to become alert and then tense and scared. And the more familiar you become with these, the more you'll be able to see and take action before the dog hits their threshold. If there has been a reaction on a walk, it's best to get home as quickly and safely as you can, and then take some time to relax, both you and the dog, because the stress response works the same in all mammals. So I've been there. I have a reactive dog. I know that feeling of standing there holding the lead, trying to get yourself out of the situation when your dog has reacted and people are looking at you, and I have been there. One thing that we often recommend for reactive dogs, especially when they have had a really stressful time, is a cortisol break. And this means a period of time without walks. Some dogs will need days of not walking to bring their cortisol right back down. There are things you can do at home. In terms of canine enrichment, you can do scent work, you can do agility stuff, you can do training sessions, work the dog's brain. That will help. If you can, if there are secure dog fields near you and you can take your dog out for a run around those, that will help. But the aim is a period of time where you're not encountering any triggers at all, to just let them relax, let all that cortisol leave the body, and start with as clean a sheet as you possibly can. This is particularly vital if you are going to be looking to do some behaviour modification, counter conditioning, desensitisation. You need to be starting from a sort of baseline normal, so not stressed, no lingering cortisol, because you need your dog to be able to concentrate and learn. And no dog can learn when they're stressed. So thank you very much for joining us for this quick look at what trigger stacking is and why we need to be aware of it. There will be more videos coming up in the near future, and I hope you will join us again.